This Ebony Live TV special was recorded at the Wheatbaker Hotel in Lagos.
Welcome to this roundtable conversation on Ebony Live TV, an Ebony Live TV special. As Nigeria's general elections draw closer, we chat with some of the candidates vying for different elective positions. Our guest today is a politician who's contesting under the platform of the All Progressive Congress Party to be the next governor of Lagos State. He's a trained surveyor with about 30 years experience across both the private and public sectors. Let's welcome Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. And I am not doing this alone. I'm joined by my wonderful colleagues and friends, and with me, of course, is Ebuka.
Thank you very much, Bolanle. Yes, we're not doing this alone. Also here with us are Tosin Odunfa, Talula Doherty, and of course the youngest zillennial in the mix, Tomike Alayande. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Today we will all be getting some of our questions of our chest. We want to discuss the future of Lagos State. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ebuka. I can see the energy in this room. It's pumping, right? And I'm round to go. I think it's an honor having all of you taking up time today to want to come and have a conversation with me. I mean, you all look gorgeous. You all look really, really well.
They're trying to soften the landing.
I can see it's important for me.
Well, I'm going to jump right into it now.
Absolutely. Okay.
By May 29th next year, the same party would have ruled Lagos for about 20 years, at least different versions of the same party, I believe. And a lot of Lagosians believe that things could be better, especially looking at certain rankings that continues to place Lagos as one of the worst cities to live in. So what is the incentive for anybody to vote back the APC and you as governor?
Thank you very much, Ebuka. So let's just put the context right. In 1999, the total revenue that was being collected in Lagos State, well under 600 million, right? In 2017, 2018, they're doing about 30 billion. In 1999, Lagos was certainly not the fifth largest economy in Africa. Lagos was not a mega city in 1999. Lagos was not the fastest growing in commerce, in trade, in economics, in school enrollment, in a whole lot of things. But today it is. So just to put it in context, yes, it's true, various versions of a party have been ruling for the past 20 years. But if you sit back and have a pretty opportunity to look back at what has happened over those 20 years, Lagos had tremendous growth, incredible growth in those 20 years. Like I said, in fact, when this party, like you talked about, came in 1999, they were actually borrowing money to pay salary. Lagos is the only one that on a sustainable basis, right, can meet up his obligations on a month-on-month basis, right, and also have something, it doesn't wait to get a handout from the federal government to meet a whole lot of his responsibility, right? So in terms of growth, in terms of development, we have seen phenomenal improvement. But however, right, it's still work in progress. Like any other mega city of its status, you will still have traffic management. You still have issues of waste to deal with. The schools will probably not be up until the skills will have it. Health will always continue to be an issue until when we'll fix it up. Infrastructure will continue to be an issue until when we put all of the right skills there. So we know what it is, right? So I'm not going to sit down here and say to you that it's all hurry, that we're there. It is a journey. It's not a destination. But it's not fair, to imagine that they haven't done. There's been several things that have been done. And so if you guys can step back and let's reflect, and compare it, not even nationally, because if you're comparing nationally, you're not having a global output, but compare with other developed cities of its status, right? It has actually come up, But can it do better? Oh, yes, it can do a whole lot better than what it is now. So I believe that we're on the right course.
Thank you very much, sir, for that. I think for me, one of my biggest concerns would definitely have to be infrastructure and alleviating traffic for Lagosians. Traffic is honestly a nightmare, and everyone keeps asking what is going to be done to make sure that people are not commuting 3 hours one way on a daily basis. And how is the infrastructure going to meet up to the demand of the amount of people and vehicles on the road? So I'm really curious to find out what your plans are for alleviating traffic in Lagos.
It's a whole lot you put together.
Because I'm stressed.
I can imagine. You see,
feel, gosh,
let's be fair. Let's also look. I mean, and I feel the energy, right? First, let's take it away. You know, it's also festive period, so a bit of notch of traffic will come. It also comes with any mega city. Traffic will always be there. But however, this is it, right? In my team solution, traffic and traffic management, it's critical to me. It's a to-do list. And let me tell you what we'll find out. While we've been on the campaign tour, we've realized about 56 traffic gridlocks in various parts of Lagos have identified in our team. And we realize that each one of them have specific issues that are not peculiar to each to the very next one, right? And we need to bring about innovative thinking to see how we solve each and every of those solutions. And I can give you some simple examples. Some of them would probably just be solved by reducing the size of the roundabouts that we have. Ikeja roundabout, the Lekki Phase 1 roundabout, some of them could just be reduced by the size of the roundabout. Some will be reduced by putting in traffic management, traffic lights, you know, in some of those places. And some will also be resolved by ensuring that we can open up the lay-by, meaning that if you have a 2-lane, right, and you need to make a right turn or a left turn, increase the lay-by such that people that need to make the turn, they are not the ones that are tailing back. You know, you need to do a lot of studies. You need to understand and appreciate that, you know, we have huge vehicular movement. Let me also give you one statistics that is important. We'll realize, while on this campaign trail, that about 20 to 25% of renewals of vehicles increases in Lagos State. Let me explain what I mean. Meaning that in year 2017 compared to in year 2018 compared to 2017, there's been a 20% increase in car re-registration, not new cars, renewals. Meaning that people come from other parts of the country, right, that were residents in other parts, and they've come to Lagos residency, and they've renewed their vehicle, and they're not going anywhere again. So it begins to see that it's the same road, but a whole lot more people have come in, they've come with their vehicles, and they've not been planned for, and we need to deal with it. But that is not to take away the very point that you've made. Our government, my government, by the grace of God, we will tackle these things in 3 forces. We'll look at what we can consider low-hanging fruits. If it's to reduce a roundabout, if it's to do a lay-by, they're low-hanging. If it's to do extensive study and see how we can change movement of direction, build more roads.
I'm just going to jump straight and let you know that over the past several years, you know, with APC governments and, you know, whatever iterations there have been, I've had quite a bunch of friends, people that I know, uncles, aunties, and all whatnot, who have joined the public service and have become stupendously rich. So my question to you now is really simply this. If you come from this same pedigree of politicians, how do I know you are not in it simply to win it monetarily wise or to protect some other principals' interests?
Tosin, it's a very simple question. I've done 30 years post-university. I've had a unique 17 years in the private sector. I've run 3 banks. I was a treasurer of 3 banks. I've never had an issue. Integrity is not far from me. I understand what it is, sanctity of contract. I have run the balance sheet of financial institutions. I've been treasurers of 3 banks, right? I've run 3 ministries, budget, establishment and training, commerce and industry. I was one of the people that brought about the Lekki Free Trade Zone. I was one of the ones that have taken the budget of Lagos State to the House of Assembly. I was one of the people, right, that created the Security Trust Fund, the 767-112 toll-free that you have. I was one of the people that brought about Lagos. Lagos, if I must tell you, we brought 200 vehicles into Lagos, into Nigeria, with an off-balance sheet item from Lagos. Lagos did not put a carbon, and I was in the same government. I wasn't commissioner for transport. It was an off-balance sheet item in which government did not have to put the resources they need for the first 200 buses for us to be. This is innovation. It has nothing to do about the kind of policy. Yes, truly so. I've had 13 years in public service. And each one, I've never had one as a long stretch from 2002. Each time I've stepped out, gone back to the private sector, I've been consultant with PP, I've been involved in privatization, I've earned my due. And what I've done over those conversations is that I've met people across boards, right? I've seen people make money. I've helped people keep wealth, right? And so I've seen it all. And I've created synergy. I've created relationships that cannot be broken. It's a resume that is not so common, Tosin, right? And that's one of the things I bring to bear. And so each time I leave one sector and go back to the other sector, I say to them in the sector that I'm going into, these are the challenges they have in the sector I'm coming back. Meaning that as a private sector person, I can tell my friends that, well, yeah, they're not doing well, but these are their concerns.
We need to take a quick break, but we're just scratching the surface with our discussion with Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and that continues in a minute. You're watching an Ebony Life TV special.
Welcome back. You're watching an Anybody Live TV special, and we've been talking to Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. And I think Talula has a question for you now.
Yes, I do, sir.
Yes,
I follow you very avidly on Twitter, so I read all your tweets. And I want to talk about healthcare because you're actually quite passionate about healthcare.
Yes,
and I know, as a Lagosian, it's something that is a heavy burden to many in our state.
It is.
So how would you seek to make it more affordable, more quality? You hear of people dying for like 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira, they get to hospital, they won't get treated because they don't have the money. So what can be done for those people?
Okay, thank you. Very fortunately, a couple of days back, I was privileged to have been invited for the launch of the primary health, health insurance scheme for the state government. That's the first time where they're launching. It's been on the drawing board for over 10 years, but it's finally up and running now. Well, it's finally been launched now. So I'm going to immediately become an advocate and I make commitments at that meeting that it's going to be a continuity, because that is one critical thing that I believe we all desire. And how it's going to work is that, of course, like any other health insurance scheme, people are going to register to be a member, right, and they will pay a little premium, maybe monthly or quarterly or yearly, depending on how your cash flow.
Will it be subsidized by
certainly,
the government?
That's what I'm going. So if you look at your triangle, the poorest of the poorest, right, will now be subsidized by the government. They need to set out a fund, like an envelope on a yearly basis in the budget, and make sure that they can continue to fund that part for the poorest of the poor. I know that the challenge will be, how do you determine who falls in that bracket, right? And I'm sure with some enumeration, we can truly really get there.
Awesome. And we have so many youths in the state that are unemployed. I mean, if not for Ebony Life TV, I probably would be one of them. So, speaking of employment, this has no doubt increased the crime rates, having so many unemployed youths in the state. Now, what plans do you have in the pipeline as regards creating job opportunities for the teeming unemployed youths in the state?
Thank you very much. One of the things that needs to happen is we need to put the private sector in the proper place. It's the private sector that has the engines of growth, right? And if we say we want to make Lagos a true 21st century, private sector controls about 80 to 85% of the GDP. I had run the civil service, the entire civil service, as commissioner for staff. So max, I have 150,000 max. Even if I double that, which we will make it the same service with the federal government, even if I double that to 300,000, I'm still scratching it compared to the population. Do you understand? Even if we double it, we create 100,000 jobs, it's still a mean. So it is the private sector and the only way the private sector can grow it if they have ease of doing business, if they take further risk in investment. Somebody that has a factory that employs 500 people, builds another factory that is going to take another 500 people. Somebody that employs 10 people, wraps up, whatever he or she is doing, employs another 10. That's what happens in the UK and all the developed world. You see all those corner shops that take 3, 4, 5 people, they are the real growth that you see. So why my take will be, let us create an environment where the private sector will thrive, they will do well, ease of business will be better for them, they will want to invest more in the system rather than taking the money out. One. Secondly, let's improve on entrepreneurial skill. People coming out of school, what exactly is your passion? What is your dream? Can government support you? So that when you're starting your business, you don't need to think about power. You don't think about internet. You don't even think about office space. Can we bring about a conversation where we have a lot of, incubator centers, right? Just come and plug and play. Come and do your own bit, pay a little token, right, and move on. Or government also, this government is doing a great job with Employment Trust Fund. They've empowered over 8,700 people. But however, I'm aware that over 40,000 applied. So one of the things I'm going to do is, how can we double that? How can we, maybe it's an envelope in, maybe budget, that's what I mean by envelope. Maybe we need to double that. So maybe we'll push 30,000 into that corridor. 500,000, 300,000, 1 million, whatever it is that is their requirement, you deal with it and you'll be able to push up that. That one person, over 6 months, employ another person. That one person over 1 year employ 3, 4, 5 more people. That's how growth begins to happen. That's how development begins to. That's how you take people off the street. Finally, and more importantly, we also realize that a lot of the people coming out from some of our institutions are not the kind of right skills that is required in this 21st century. So we take the conversations back and realize and ask, what truly really do these companies require? What are their needs? Is it vocational training? Is it skill acquisition? What do we need to do? So that when they come out, they become not only employable, they are trainable, and they can be part of the development of that organization. But if you just bring out courses or disciplines that nobody truly needs it, I'm sorry, it's just going to be a difficult thing, to deal with. So it's both ways. We look at the curriculum, we look at what the needs are, and we'll fix, it's a total fix that we need to do. And that's how you can grow it organically.
All right, conversation is going to continue. There is much more, so make sure you stay with us.
Welcome back. We're still in conversation with Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who's running for governor of Lagos State with the All Progressives Congress. And sort of leading up from the question that he had asked, I'm very concerned about loyalty. Pretty much tying most of what has been talked about today, employment, traffic, and just Lagos as a whole. There's a concern, especially amongst young people, which is why there's a lot of apathy from that demographic, because there's no belief that politicians really care about young people. Who are you loyal to, and why should we believe you?
Well, you see, the truth is, Ebuka, you never should be put on the spot to test loyalty. Loyalty is a relative word, right? It's a very, very relative word, right? But I say to you, who are the people that are putting me in position today? It's the entire Lagosians that are voting. It's the 5 million Lagosians that will be casting their vote that certainly deserve my loyalty, that certainly deserve all of the programs, all of the things that I said I'm going to do, that I will be doing, all of the traffic that I'll be managing, all of the roads that we'll be building, all of the schools and the health and the things that we've said we're going to be doing. That is loyalty. When we talk about loyalty, and there's a process, the legal framework that runs the state. And I've talked about it, that even if we need to look at our procurement system, there are 130, 140 public servants that are working in Lagos state government. It's usually a perception that really it's not fair and it's not real, right? But like you said, that's what you feel. But I'm giving you, because I'm on a point of knowledge, I'm aware of it, right? And I'm saying to you and to all of us sitting down here, it's about Lagos, and it's about a process that we've seen development, positive development in the state. Is that all we can do? No. And I've said it that part of the things we'll be doing is bring about innovation. Let's do it quicker, faster, better. Getting it right, not all the time, the first time and all of the time.
I appreciate the response.
Thank
and
you.
I feel like, I wish we had more time, because
I wish
the problem of Lagos is
Yes.
very, very big, and it's very deep. And I do feel like, you have a lot of the best intentions at heart.
Thank you.
And that keyword, you mentioned it, mega cities.
Yeah.
I honestly actually have a problem with it sometimes, because I feel like it is a cover-up for what is really happening in Lagos. And I want to talk a little bit about poverty and the two sides of the coin, in the fact that as millennials, we see both sides. We see the Lagos that is struggling deeply and the Lagos that looks great and is growing. My question is, how are you going to make sure that most of Lagos, which is almost the whole of the mainland, is not left behind in this creation of developing and innovation and technology, especially for younger people? Because a lot of these young people, they want to hustle hard, they want to get the money quick, but there's no infrastructure for them to actually do this.
Thank you. Just to also mention what you said about megacity. Megacity is not a word that anybody just generates. Megacity is a demography that is used based on your population. Right, so the United Nations and the World Health, they know that once you get some population, they have some inherent challenges that is peculiar to all megacities. It's a baseline that everybody will have. So it's a function of how do you solve your own problem. We knowing fully well that you will have these problems, right? So to answer part of your questions as well, what are the things we need to do, especially on the mainland that you mentioned? We're going to be very creative in how we do land administration. Part of the challenge that we have in Lagos, right? Which, by the way, 1/3 of Lagos is actually water, right? So it is, less than 1% of the land side of this country that is Lagos, of which 1/3 of that, less than 1%, is water. So we have only 2/3 that we're dealing with. So, but even as tiny as it might be, right, is to quickly come about processes where we can give title to people faster and quicker. And I'll give you an example, right? On the mainland, Ijora, Badia, Ajegunle, all of these places that appear as if they are blighted, right? If you throw back title, and I've been to jurisdictions in the world, I've been to a city called Bogota in Colombia, right? If you give back title to people quickly, it creates a 25 to a 30% value immediately on that asset. And it becomes a tradable weapon that they can create wealth from immediately just by having a little piece of paper called title. You can create wealth out of it. And that's how development starts. So you can now have a conversation and say that, you know what, you want to come and restructure this place for me, I've got a 30% equity in it. And that's how development starts. So they would see it, right, as not a dead asset, but an asset that you've converted to some value. And so the moment a private sector sees that, he knows that you've contributed something, and you have title that they can hold on to for a minimum of 90, 80 years, depending on whatever contractual agreement you have. That's how development will come about, right? And so that's why I keep going to the fact that I need to partner a lot more with the private sector. They are the ones that have the deep pockets. They are the ones that have the risk to implement. I'll tell you something. When I was MD of LSDPC, in 2 years, LSDPC, by the way, is about 90 years old. In 2 years, right, all of the things that we did, that I was about, was apart from restructuring the place, all of the 12 to 14 transactions that we did there, they were all private sector led, meaning that I didn't take a kobo from government coffers. One kobo from government. And you know what? They put billions into those investments. And they are there for anybody to say, is LSDP, is in Ilupeju. And we've set it. It's working. They are putting their money on transactions and they're doing development for us. And their engagement with the private sector. And it's a government agency that we did not collect 1 penny from government in 2 years. Not one. And you can go and check. And this is not just we're talking. It's something you guys can investigate. Right? So that's the kind of conversations we're saying. So if people see that you have the right legal framework, you'll have the right mix, and they see that investment can be driven in this area, they will take the risk. All you need to do is to cover those risks for them in terms of what are the things that needs to give them assurances. And that's why I'm saying that we're also going to be a government of continuity. Whatever contractual obligations we have, we will meet them, right? And the moment people get comfortable contractually, they will take further investment. When they take further investment, jobs will be created.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, sir, for still being with us and for speaking so candidly and so passionately. Now, you mentioned growth, and I want to talk about tourism now because, globally, the image of Nigeria and Lagos is one, we have fantastic arts, fantastic entertainment, but on the flip side, a lot of people are scared to come to Lagos. It's ranked, Nigeria is ranked as one of the most dangerous countries to visit, but as you were saying, we have, these amazing waterways, it's an amazing city.
183 kilometers.
Exactly, and I was in Indonesia recently, and, tourism is a key driver of their economy, and actually Bali.
Oh, okay, well, that's the tourism side. That's
yes, the tourism side, exactly. And a lot of young people actually work, in the tourist industry and get a good salary from it. So how can we develop our Lagos tourism to make more people comfortable and to also improve the global image of Lagos as a safe city?
Thank you. I think the brand called Lagos, we need to also still work on it. It's a bit better than the Nigerian brand, by the way, because I have actually gone around and seen. So the brand called Lagos, we need to work it well. Communication and how people perceive it, right? But in terms of tourism, you could see in my theme, Cardinal 5 point, it's critical, and I've said tourism and entertainment, right? How we're going to do it is we're talking with a lot of practitioners right now who are deep in that industry, and we're hearing a lot of feedback. And one of the things that I've promised is that we'll ensure that in that arm of government, we put proper professionals there who have been practitioners, who are people that have worked it all there. They know what the issues are. They've walked it, they've seen it. People can relate with them, right? But we need to bring about policies that can make Lagos a destination. And how do you create that policy? You start from your airport. You start from them having an experience once they come in, right? You start by encouraging the private sector to have more growth in hospitality, right? reducing the cost per room, per night, right, in Lagos as compared to, I know Lagos is pretty expensive, and we don't have a whole lot of what we could call 5-star and 4-star. It's all business environment. It's all a function of how well they see you, right? And so for them to do it, power has to work. It brings down their cost of delivery, right? Little things like that. Security must be put in place. Those are the things we're talking about. Security must be there, power must be there. That's what will improve or encourage, tourism to have Lagos on their calendar, right? So we will put all of those policies there, but we must ensure that when they do those investments, they're not going to be buying diesels or generators because it takes up competition, right? They're not going to be worried about, having, armed police and all, because the whole city is a 24/7. The whole place is lit up. So those are the kind of, denominators that you need to put on the foundation for it to grow, right? So while we're working with professionals, I'm not a tourist professional, but I just have the broad idea everywhere I go to that we can do it, right? It's all blue waters that will have 183 kilometers, right? Let's go about, ensuring that we talk to the right people. And like I said, we have started that conversation around people that truly, really have passion on tourism, know about it, because we know that the growth of unemployment, we can actually take a significant amount of people out of unemployment if we get tourism right, if we get entertainment right. They employ a whole lot of people, So it's something that is critical to us, it's something that I'm passionate about, and we'll be doing it. But as into the specifics, right, we are still having real detailed policy conversations with people that are experts in that sector. And I'll repeat myself again, we will get practitioners who know it so well to drive that out of our government.
Thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate you coming here and speaking with us. We know that you are very, very busy, and we're hoping that, if you do win, everything you've said, you will do, because we will hold you accountable. Just to let you know.
I certainly cannot thank you enough. Right. For me, like I said, it's about what I've done in life, right? And I think it speaks for it. I'm about credibility. I'm about accountability. I'm about ensuring that you have access to me. And that's why I said it's inclusive government.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming. We hope we did some justice to the questions that have been bothering all the young people. And we want to make sure that we encourage every single one of you to go out and vote. This was an Ebony Life TV special. We're coming to you from the Wheatbreaker Hotel. We will see you next time.